What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Bleed. It's Al Mac. This is Odds HQ. This is odds.com. This is the recap for UFC 260. Oh boy, Al, we just wrapped. The press conference just wrapped. Ngannou. Can we just go an hour of me just saying Ngannou? Hey, man, Ngannou, the new heavyweight champ of the world, the baddest man in the world. I'm obviously super hyped. I was on Ngannou. Man, felt like all my friends were against me. You know what, though? Every time all my friends are against me, they learn that your boy Bleed always comes up big. Ngannou gets it done, man. Look great. We're going to talk about that fight. We're going to talk about every fight on this main card from a gambling standpoint. We're going to give you the betting trends. We're going to give you the numbers. And on that note, let me throw it to my man, Al Mac, who's going to hit you with those numbers. What is up, Al?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you were on, you were kind of on an island here, but it's so just weird. And like the way that you look at this, and it was like Ngannou was the favorite, so like, within the expert opinion, you were on an island picking the favorite, which is just like
weird stuff.
You know what I mean? And interesting tonight, the favorite went 9-1. As you pointed out, Malarkey was the only dog that cashed. Marc-Andre Barreau, that was like kind of pick 'em, but you give that to the other side. So yeah, the favorite went 9-1 tonight. 3.86 units. So, if you bet $1 on every single favorite tonight, you were walking home with $3.86. So, hey, and then fight goes the distance continues. Even though tonight was losing, fight doesn't go the distance, actually cashed more, but fight goes the distance on the year. 65, 59-2, but tonight 6-4. So it was weird. We had 5. It was such a weird card because the first fight should have been stopped, a round before, right? So it felt like every single fight went the distance, but although we did still have some finishes, and then we had the Malarkey finish. Then we had that good, the good female fight. And it was just such a weird card. The pacing was so strange because, the Marc-Andre Barreau fight, it ended 8 seconds before the finish, right? Before or maybe even less than 8 seconds.
It was close.
So yeah, it's just such a weird card, man. This is one of those cards where like, I was saying to you before we started, it was like, it didn't matter until suddenly it was like, oh my God, this card is ridiculous. Like the redemption storyline, then everyone was like, like that's a thing, but we'll talk about it. Now it's like, yeah, we have to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like everybody redeemed themselves tonight, in not everybody, but let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. I mean, listen, you're going to be hard-pressed to find me in a bad mood about any of these fights. Yet again, another night that I was just absolutely on a tear. My goodness, Al, these last couple weeks, I'm on a serious heater, bro. Just annihilated the prelims. And, rolled right into the main card. And our first main card of the night was the only underdog you were just talking about, Al. What is there to say about this matchup? It was a non-event. Jamie Malarkey goes in there and absolutely dusts Worthy 46 seconds into round number 1, a non-event. And I felt like on Friday, Jamie Malarkey, I felt like was a pretty good matchup in this. I even went as far as to say I thought he probably should be the slight favorite here. Worthy is a glass cannon, a guy that I said I thought had honestly overachieved up to this point in the UFC. Gets knocked out by Otman Zaitar in his last fight, comes back in here, another quick and vicious KO. Malarkey just basically comes forward on this dude, clips him with a hard shot. Interestingly enough, Malarkey even said the shot that put Kama down, he's like, it was weird. I didn't even think it was really that hard of a shot. And sure enough, he talked about how he watched his eyes kind of roll. He goes down. Malarkey follows up with some ground and pound. Non-event. Malarkey blows through Kama Worthy, 36-year-old lightweight, coming off 2 very quick KOs. I don't know where we go from here for Kama Worthy, but Jamie Malarkey absolutely deserves a step up. Controversially lost his last fight before this one, a fight that he probably won, a fight that I had money on the other guy, and even under that bias, still thought Malarkey probably won. So Malarkey gets on track, gets his first official win. The kid looked good. The kid looked improved. That city kickboxing, man, seemed to have really improved him. Goes in there, blows through Kama Worthy. I had a bet on Jamie Malarkey at plus 110. Beautiful underdog spot. The only underdog to cash on the night. Al, did you have anything on this one, man?
Yeah, I had the under, and I had a sizable play on the under, and then I also had Kama Worthy, which is like one of those things where like this is like a theme of the night where like my gut told me one thing, and then I kind of like handicapped myself into betting the other side, you know. So like I should have been on Malarkey from the get-go, but I just convinced myself basically by, you know, studying the numbers and stuff like that, you know, the value was on Kama Worthy. And it's just you love to back your, you know, your projections like that by taking a side on the total, because then that way, you know, I was like, this fight's going to go one way or the other, and it's going to happen in this time frame, and it did. So my bet on the winner, you know, lost, but I had a sizable bet on the under and the under cash. So it's just one of those things where it's kind of like I totally fade spot, and I convinced myself to be on the other side. And yeah, I don't know what it is. It was just I keep saying it, but it was one of those fights where as soon as it started, I was like, oh, it's gonna lose. Like the other fighter's gonna win, you know.
It be like that sometimes, Al. Well, yeah, man, not a whole lot to talk about. 45 seconds of Jamie Malarkey just blowing through this guy. We should probably roll on, don't you think, Al? Or you want to throw anything else in there?
No, this is just like, yeah, let's get past this part.
Good start to the pay-per-view, though. Second fight of the night, Miranda Maverick comes out there, shows she's just the better fighter, man. You know, I think pretty much everybody had a solid read on this fight. Miranda Maverick was going to win the stand-up, and Jillian Robertson had a chance to win this fight if she could take it to the mat. Well, round one's all Maverick, all on the feet, really putting a beating on Robertson. Round two, we see Robertson get it to the mat. We see her control quite a bit of the round. We see her fish for a couple submissions. I'll be honest, though, man, I think it was a big mistake by Robertson to not really land any form of ground and pound, even any. She just never got off any shots when she had the dominant position here. Maverick ends up getting up, I think, want to say the last minute of the second round, actually starts putting it back on. Robertson finishes that round fairly strong.
Yeah.
And then round three, it's just all Maverick, one-way traffic. Robertson, I feel like, mentally gave up in that second round, kind of felt like her chance she had her chance. She couldn't sub her. She seemed mentally defeated. Maverick kind of just rolls through her in the third round. Miranda Maverick, unanimous decision win. I will say this, Miranda Maverick, she looked good. It's hard to knock her in this win, but she absolutely needs to shore up that game on bottom, man. When she gets taken down, you know, she's looking to her corner. She's not necessarily reacting very quickly. She kind of needs to be led step by step what to do. And with a grappler, even on the level of Jillian Robertson, who's kind of in a flow state, moving, you know, taking what's being given to them, Miranda Maverick's really got to shore up this area of her game. She is 23 years old. I think she understands that's her weak spot. That's the weak spot everyone called her out on this week leading up to this fight in the breakdowns. And I still feel like that's the case. Unfortunately for Jillian Robertson, never found her opportunity. Miranda Maverick rolls on. I had a bet on Miranda Maverick. I thought there was value on Miranda Maverick. I had a bet on her every time this fight had been scheduled. I said, why not now? I cashed on Miranda Maverick. What'd you think of this one, Al? Did you have any action?
Yeah, like, I love you, buddy, but you were right, but I was on the other side from the moment that this fight was announced. Really? Because I just thought that this is like a thing between me and you where like you have the ability to gauge the perception of you know, the perception of things as far as the line goes and what the reality is, where I was just like, I don't think she's as good as people think she is, you know? And I thought even tonight, I thought that Jillian Robertson showed she is quite good. And when it got to the ground, I thought that she dominated. It's just the thing is that Miranda Maverick has that like young girl strength, and that she's not going to be able to stay at flyweight for the rest of her career. Like she's a big girl, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Al. I think it was a pretty tough weight cut this time. And at 23, man, how's that cut going to be when she's 28? You know what I mean? So,
and
Al,
like,
you're probably right. I bet she probably moves up at some point.
And like Jillian Robertson is like a full grown woman. And, you know, I thought, and I've been saying this the whole time, like there was like this whole narrative of like the Crossroads fight. And it's just like Jillian Robertson isn't going anywhere.
She's young too. I mean, she's 25 years old. You know, Jillian Robertson versus any other opponent, we'd be talking about how young Jillian Robertson is. It's just she, you know, tonight she's matched up with a 23-year-old. So, you know, both are still very young prospects, and Jillian Robertson's not going anywhere. You know, she just fought a fighter that, you know, had strengths in her areas of weakness. If she can get in there with someone that lacks even worse takedown defense and is even more, you know, incapable off their back, Jillian Robertson's going to win plenty of fights still in this division. It's
interesting too, because like this is one of those ones where we need to keep our eye out on this when these things happen with these fights that are announced. We might have missed the boat on this now that it's like, you know, the new pandemic era where like half the world is convinced itself that it's not happening and half the world is still dealing with it. But, you know, this fight, when it was first announced, I was all over the under, you know, and there was value on the under. And then it got to the point where today the over was at like minus 175, like over 2.5 rounds. So it was just like, you know, value is now on the over in this fight,
sure,
no matter how you have it handicapped. And that was just the way it ended up, where it was like both of these fighters can probably get the finish, but what are the actual odds that they will versus what they're giving you? And it was one of those type of things where you were handcuffed if you came into it on the long stretch. But if you came into it, you know, if you figured out a way to get out of your position, or if you just came into it on this week and you didn't know that these fighters were scheduled to fight since like January, you know, it was just, it's such a weird spot where the value was heavily on the under all like for months. And then it came to the point where like you had to be betting the over here. And it didn't look like at any point that either of these women were going to get the finish. So based on what the line said versus what the reality was, so much value on the over against two women that are finishers, right, in this division, which is pretty rare. So it was one of those things where, you know, to make a long story short, I lost, and it was entertaining.
Yeah. Hey, it was, you know, I mean, Maverick kind of did have some sketchy spots, like I said, but nonetheless, man, the Maverick rolls on, and I think this chick's going to continue to grow. I think we're going to see her get a lot better, and I definitely have my eye on her, man. She looks to be a legit prospect. If she can just shore up a couple areas of the game, there's, you know, sky's the limit. Her striking looks very good at this point. So what do you think, Al? Do you got anything to say before we move on to this banger next fight?
No, let's move on, because I got a lot to talk about.
Oh boy, one. I do too. Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show is back on, folks. Man, I needed Sean O'Malley to get this one done. I had Sean O'Malley inside the distance. I had Sean O'Malley in my parlay of the week. I had Sean O'Malley in my Hail Mary parlay. Wouldn't you know it, they all cash, baby. Sean O'Malley, I appreciate what you did, but there's one last thing I want to talk about here, Al. I also had the under. Sean O'Malley blows it. First round, tries to pull a little walk-off stunt. The fight's over. No, it wasn't. Almeida's still there. You knocked him down. O'Malley totally blunders. Could have had the fight in the bag. Could have cashed that under. Instead, he walks around like a dope. Eventually finds that finish late in the third round. I mean, hard to knock the kid, right? He's looking for highlight reel stuff. But not only that, even when this fight was finished, my man does another walk-off stunt and then has to go back in for the Dan Henderson diving face punch. Honestly, they probably should have called it on that second one. But he lands literally the Mortal Kombat fatality death shot on Thomas Almeida, who honestly spent this whole fight just getting absolutely fucked up. Sean O'Malley looks good. The legs hold up. The ankle holds up. The feet hold up. Do we have stuff to worry about here? I mean, we probably do, but Almeida landed some pretty good leg kicks. O'Malley takes it. I think the sugar show's back in effect. I needed my man to get it done inside the distance. He does it. Cash, cash, cash. I did take one slide on the under, but nonetheless, I'm happy. Sean, if you just would have jumped on this dude, could have been a clean sweep for your boy Bleed, but nonetheless, he did make me some money. Al, what did you have on this one?
This is one of those fights where I was disgusted from beginning to end, and the UFC matchmakers like set up this match where there was no real way that Sean O'Malley was going to lose unless he was just a terrible fighter. Like I don't even know what to say. Like, I understand Sugar Sean O'Malley is a high level striker, super high level, but he was fighting Sugar Sean O'Malley is like 5'11", and he was fighting a guy who was 5'7", 5'7.5", and who was spinning for leg kicks and just couldn't catch him. And like, he was like pulling the little shimmy, and I don't, it was, he should have finished him. And Thomas Almeida, you know, he's so tough that like he was tailor made for this spot. And it was just, you know, it was just not, it was something. I felt like I was watching Ryzen, where I felt like this was one of those fights where I couldn't bet on it, because for me, I had the under too. And I saw this fight where it was like, there's so much, you know, perception on Sean O'Malley. And I just, one of those rare spots where I couldn't fade the, you know, the heavy favorite, because I'm a realist, and I'm just like, there's no path to victory for Thomas Almeida. There isn't. There is not. He's not going to land the shot, because he's Sean O'Malley is a high level striker, and not he's a high level boxer. He's a high level moving aware and very high level, you know, and I'm not taking any of that away from him, but he needs to show us that. And I think he's amazing at that, but I feel like the UFC just like doesn't know how to matchmake him for us to be able to see that. And tonight it was just like, you put him up against a guy who has no chance whatsoever. And I don't know. It was entertaining in the fact that I was just like, is he going to finish the fight or is he not going to finish the fight? And he just kept walking away, and it gets to the point where it's like you're hurting the product by like, what are they doing here? You know, it felt like a fucking Royal Rumble. Like, it just, you know what I mean? It just didn't make sense what I was looking at. It was just like, what is going on here? And I'm not taking anything away from him, because he is a really good fighter. But I would like to see him fight somebody his size to start, and somebody that can do that bait and switch, that, you know, that pull and counter game with him. And I just thought for sure he would call out Marlon Vera for the rematch, and he just doesn't do it. And he's, you know, it's just, it was, thank God that that we never, nobody said that there was value on Thomas Almeida, because there wasn't. But it was just like, I wouldn't have enjoyed having a large money line bet on, you know, we'll get into that in the next fight.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have if, you know, we'll get into this, but, you know, if I was in the same position that I was in the fight that we're just about to talk about, but it was with Sean O'Malley, we might even not be talking right now, you know, like it was, yeah, it was just, I don't know. I don't know. the UFC is not doing themselves any favors and not doing Sean O'Malley any favors by like propping him up to this, these expectations that he can't fulfill, because eventually someone's going to come along and want to get the paycheck that he's getting and beat him. But then it comes to a point where it's like, well, are they going to let him beat him? And then it's like, well, what are we even doing here? So like, I want to see Sean O'Malley fight Adrian Yanez or somebody to that level,
It's
right?
banger.
Or, depending what happens with Sandhagen. And I know it doesn't make any sense, but this is the level that they're propping this guy up to when you look at like the social media numbers and stuff like that. And like, it doesn't make sense ranking wise, but like, that's the path that they're putting him on. And, if TJ loses, like, I don't know. I just don't know what the path is for him realistically versus what his skills are, and I think that I just don't know. I think that they're putting him way beyond where he is right now. What do you think? I'm going on.
Well, man, you're rocking a wide scope, that's for sure. TJ Dillashaw, Adrian Yanez, yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that covers a whole lot of fighters. He was in the top 15, and he lost to Marlon Vera, right? I'm sure he's going to be close, probably sniffing the top 15. The UFC rankings don't really make a lot of sense. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually sneak him back into like 14 or 15. I say you give him someone right on that cusp, right on that, either somebody who's sniffing at the top 15 or somebody in like that 13, 14, 15 range. I don't have rankings pulled up right now, but I think you give him a step up from Almeida. Like I said earlier this week, I thought Almeida was kind of a hand-picked opponent for this kid. And sure enough, it played out exactly like that.
And Thomas Almeida is a fucking warrior, like such a tough fighter, but he's just been dealt a shitty hand in life and in fighting, right? He was like 17-0, right?
Yeah.
Coming into the UFC, but he had been beaten the shit out of his entire career up to that point, just in training as in Shuto box, you know what I mean? So like, he's just a product of his environment, and he had to get the eye surgery, and it's just, he's not who he's not, who he thought he was. And he's just, out there for the paycheck, for the honor, and and the UFC was taking advantage of it and putting Sean O'Malley in this great position to show off. But I didn't think that it was really showing off, because the guy's freaking 5'7.5" versus the guy who's 5'11". They can't even exchange because they're you know what I mean? Their body, it's like they're in two different.
O'Malley's just not there to be hit.
Yeah, but they're both smart enough fighters that they're outside of each other's range. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like there were two guys that are in completely different weight classes and different. They're just smart enough fighters that they were just like staying outside of each other, and it just wasn't. That's what I mean. Is Thomas Almeida is a good fighter, but what was he supposed to do? You know what I mean? He was outclassed.
Listen, Al, the narrative I heard was Almeida was going to come in here and kick this kid's leg off. And I mean, he caught him with a couple, but I mean, I don't know, man. The whole O'Malley's leg thing, I think, really got overblown and probably talked about a little bit too much. At the same time, if Almeida went in there and leg kicked the dude 3 times and he's hopping on 1 foot, it's all we'd be talking about still. And is O'Malley done? Is he ever, you know what I mean? So there were 2 outcomes here. It was just the O'Malley side tonight.
That's a good point.
He's just the bigger, better, faster, harder hitting, better guy at this point. And Almeida's just washed. And I don't think we see Almeida again in the UFC unless they want to use this guy essentially as another building block for another young prospect.
Which I hope to God they don't do to him, because he might be washed by the UFC standard, but he can go make a living in combat sports, somewhere else if he
and I think he might have to do that, Al, because it's a lot of losses at this point. So maybe Bellator, maybe Japan, who knows? But hey, like I said, man, the Sugar Show's back in effect. Big one for me. I honestly came into this week kind of like looking at my betting card like, man, I got a lot of Sean O'Malley. If this kid's leg don't hold up, I got problems. So Sure enough, he gets it done. Like I said, man, my only blemish on this whole main card was that under, and the dude just had it in the bag and let it go. A little bit irritated, but nonetheless, he comes through for me in a big way. All right, here we go. Co-main event time. And it's my boy Almax. Time to shine. But oh, buddy, Al, I know your heart was pumping. I know that adrenaline was flowing. And I know you had to be sweating it. Vicente Luque, Darcis, Tyron Woodley, 3 minutes, 56 seconds of round number 1. But here's the story of the whole fight. Tyron Woodley showed up in the octagon tonight and fought. Okay, that might be the biggest, most baffling, blow me away storyline we had tonight. Tyron Woodley went in here and went for it. You know, goes out aggressively right off the bat, lands some good shots, wobbles Vicente Luque, kind of turns into a firefight. Man, Vicente Luque crushes him with some absolutely huge shots. We see Woodley stumbling this way against the cage, eats a few more shots. He's stumbling back across the octagon. At one point, my man Woodley had to use one hand to hold the fence to give him like some balance, a state of stability, probably a minute or two to figure out where in the world he was and why is this man attacking him so ferociously. Vicente Luque comes in here, handled his business, absolutely a fun fight. Hey, man, I had him paired up with Sean O'Malley in my parlay of the week. Al, I'm almost afraid to talk about my parlay of the week, okay? Because I am on a run with this thing where I take two fighters that I'm very confident in, pair them up for about an even money play. This week it was Sean O'Malley, Vicente Luque. And the other weird thing is, man, they always finish. And it's just, I ought to be taking these, which I did take Sean O'Malley instead of the distance. But I just had Luque in the parlay with Sean O'Malley. It cashes. Absolutely fun fight. I gotta say, man, I give respect to Tyron, but at the same time, man, too little too late. He still loses the fight. Did have a moment or two where he did impress me. Still not enough. I said I thought Vicente Luque was going to be too much at this point for Tyron Woodley, and that's just the damn truth, dude. I think this is the end for Tyron Woodley. Dana White, I believe, pretty much confirmed that. 39 years old, 4-fight win streak, the ghost, the shell, the essentially the fraudulent version of his former self. Vicente Luque gets it done. I cash the parlay of the week. Al, get it ready, everybody. Let's get a round of applause going, a drum roll. It's Al Mack, folks. You know what time it is.
Let me tell you how it feels to have $1,000 bet against Tyron Woodley in the best performance he's had in years. It's not. And then let me tell you how it is when you watch the fight on mute because of how bad the commentary has been up until that point. Okay,
oh, God,
so
man, you ain't lying.
So it was terrifying. Okay, it was absolutely terrifying. And you just said that he was a shell of himself. He looked the best he's ever looked since I got into gambling on the UFC, you know, on a professional level. That was I did not handicap in any sense of reality that Tyron Woodley was going to come out looking like that. I didn't think it was possible. I said to you that it would take an act of God for Tyron Woodley to win this fight. It almost happened. It legitimately almost happened.
He said, Jesus, take the wheel, didn't he?
Dude, you said that he might be finished. And I don't even disagree with you on a sense of MMA. But if he has the punching power to rock and almost knock out a guy like Vicente Luque, if he wants to still fight in boxing, I will not I will never bet against Tyron Woodley again in my life after tonight. If he wants to continue fighting, he's got a fan in me for life because that was terrifying. And I don't ever want to be involved in anything like that again because I thought he was playing possum. I didn't know what was going on. And he had Vicente Luque completely rocked. Yeah. And that fight, if you were judging that, up until the point of the exchanges where they started throwing, Tyron Woodley was winning the fight. You know what I mean? Like they were throwing knees against the cage and stuff like that. But anytime that they exchanged, Luque was, shelling up. He had that high guard. He was getting hit. And he got hit a couple times in the back and he was rocked.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't until that like animalistic, that flow state that they got into, where Vicente Luque got in that comfort zone that he doesn't even know that he's in, where he, Woodley thought that he had him rocked to the point that he could finish him. He came in, and then that's when he started to counter. And that's not even like a skill that you can create, like you can teach. That's Teddy Alice says it's punchers aren't made, they're born.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just the animalistic instinct where someone's trying to hurt you, so you just defend yourself. And that's why from the very beginning that I was like, Vicente Luque is a lock here. And I said, it doesn't matter what the price is, Vicente Luque is a lock. The reality was that he wasn't a lock, and there was like a 15 to 20% chance that he could lose this fight, and it almost happened. And I was losing my freaking mind. Okay. And I've bet on Vicente Luque before. I bet against him, but this was, as long as we've done this show, like I've had very heavy amounts of money on like Devison Figueiredo, and won. And, even in the Figueiredo fight, when the draw and, Hart, just the tense, nothing like this, not even compared to the Adesanya Blachowicz fight.
Sure.
This was just, we were in a different paradigm. Like it was just a different reality, because I thought for half a second that Luque was going to get knocked out by Tyron Woodley. You know what I mean? And it was.
Yeah. Well, Al, I mean, I kept hearing rumors, man, that sharp money was on Woodley this week. And I was just kind of like, man, I didn't really get it. I mean, to bet Woodley,
Yeah.
you would have to bank on Woodley somehow having some sort of revitalization, right? And I mean, he kind of did. So
I have to say this too, is that the whole narrative, and we were talking about this for as long as we've been doing the series leading up to 260, is the whole narrative was Luque is going to destroy him. And then no one was agreeing with me, and it was all coming in on the other side. And then to the point where I'm like, oh, this is why, where he comes out flying in the first freaking 3 seconds of the fight and, wrestling and just got him against the cage. And, it's that moment where you're just like, oh my God, like if he's like a minus 300 live, right? As soon as the fight starts, he's like minus 150. And you're just like, oh my God, no. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So that was horrific. Like, you can't even describe it, right? Because it's not like any other sport. It's not like when you handicap, the Patriots going to destroy them. It's a 60-minute game, right? This is it's not like any other sport in the world. So it's just like,
well, I mean, it's imagine if the Patriots had a play they could run where 5 minutes into the first quarter you just win the game, right?
Yeah, like, exactly.
That is this game we're in, Al. So man, hey, I'm totally thrilled for you, Al. I know you had a lot on the line as far as money. Honestly, bro, reputation on this show. You really backed yourself into a corner. The people who watch this show know my man Al went hard, real hard. And oh boy, did we get a heart-pumping, action-packed fight. But honestly, man, when we look at it from the results, what else is there to be mad about? I will say this. I saw quite a few people on Luque by decision. And man, I felt like there was just an unnecessary confidence on that spot, considering how this fight could play out. So, man, I just took Luque straight. I know the money line wasn't a great number, but I felt like he was absolutely parlayable. Man, we both cashed on this one. Feels great, man. Should we move on to our main event?
Just to reiterate, like when I first started talking about this fight, I didn't think that there was much value on the money line, but I thought it was a lock, like as in a parlay piece or whatever. But as the weeks went on, he closed at like a minus 220 favorite. You know what I mean? And like, if you watch the fight, you're kind of paying admission for some heart palpitations, but like there was value there. You just had to kind of deal with shitting your pants.
And what's so crazy, Alex, like the people who actually took the stab on Woodley, who backed Woodley, you can't really feel too bad because, you were anticipating the dude was going to actually do something, and he did. It just wasn't enough. But my God, he made it close. So, let's roll on to this main event, though. And you guys, sometimes, I don't like to have too much braggadocio. I don't like to be, hey, look at me bleed. I'm the king of this game. You know what I mean? But hey, man, I was on an island on this one. I said Francis Ngannou was going to come in here, was going to put in the work. I said for people out there who want to act like this guy, having lost the first matchup, having squandered that opportunity, having been exposed in an area of the game that he had no expertise and no skills, to think that Francis Ngannou would come in here and be that exact same guy we saw in the first matchup, man, I felt like that was an absolute mistake. Francis Ngannou, the baddest dude on the planet, comes in here, takes out Stipe Miocic. What was it? 52 seconds into the second round. Oh my goodness. We saw Francis more measured, more calculated. This was not berserker Francis that we saw against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Curtis Blades, Junior Dos Santos. The man was very measured, calculated. We saw Francis Ngannou absolutely deny a great shot from Stipe. Beautiful hands around the body, hips out, shooting out the legs, shuts it down, and absolutely shows us the evolution, the new wrinkle in his game. Moves to the back of Stipe, lands powerful ground and pound. Stipe makes his way to his feet, eating huge shots. I honestly thought this fight was going to be ended in that first round when Ngannou was winging the bombs on Stipe. Stipe took a lot of damage. You could see the wear on his face. You could see the eye not looking good. Stipe survives the round, but I got to be honest, man, you could tell after that first round, Stipe looked broken. He looked defeated. He looked like a guy who said, you know what? When we fought the first time, I did that, and I had that dude on his back, and he did not have a chance at getting up. This is a different guy. This is a different fight. Ngannou goes out there, lands a bomb on dude. He bounces off the fence. He's going across. Ngannou lands some more shots, hits him with that death shot, collapses him back. I mean, it looked like he was voguing out of Madonna Vogue, if you guys know that weird reference. Goes back on the one leg. Ngannou comes. Listen, I hate to say this, but Herb Dean said, stop! And Francis goes, I'm sorry, sir. I'm already in motion. Lands the death shot on Stipe. Oh, buddy, Ngannou put gold on this man. I said I thought it was destiny. I said I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my gut. I felt it in my soul. Stipe was kind of the thinking man's choice, I felt like. I understood why people would back Stipe at underdog odds. And there was a very clear-cut path to victory for Stipe to win this fight. If we were getting that same Ngannou,
right?
That old Ngannou, that man's gone. This is Ngannou 2.0. This is a legit champion. This is a man well-rounded with a skill set that I believe can go out here and now beat anyone. Francis Ngannou, put respect on this man's name. I dropped the play on Ngannou. Pa-pow! Cash it up, baby. Ngannou's the champ. Al, what do you think?
I got to say mad props to you. And I got to say this was just like the theme of the night. And it was just like when these fights were announced, I convinced myself that they were going to go one way and then convinced myself that they were going to go the other way. And we go back to the UFC 258 post show, and I said that that Ngannou was going to defeat Stipe easily, and then convinced myself over the course of a month that it was going to go the other way. And this is one of those fights where it was just Ngannou was. And this is what I said earlier in the show, where you have this good ability to gauge the perception versus reality, like we were talking about with Miranda Maverick. And we were also talking about this prior with the McGregor fight, of just like we haven't seen the improvement, but there's this perception of the improvement, and with the McGregor fight, it was never there. You never saw any sign of any improvement, right? As opposed to where we saw him prior with Ngannou, as soon as the fight started, just the measuredness, the calculatedness, the patience, and it got to a point where Stipe didn't know what to do. Stipe was waiting for him to do something, and then realized that Ngannou was waiting for Stipe to do something, and it just became he had no choice but to walk into the fire, and Ngannou was gonna meet him, and if it came to a striking battle, Stipe has no chance, right? And it was just a matter of time, and it was just even if Stipe came in if he was coming in to fight Daniel Cormier, maybe he would have had a good game plan, but you can't say that Cormier and Ngannou is the same fight. It's just not the same fight. And he came in even leaner and even less heavy than he did against Cormier. So it was just it wasn't his night, and I don't know what he's gonna do. He would have to bulk up to have any chance against him again. Like there's just not the matchup. The matchup is what kills him, right? And we might say he is the greatest heavyweight, and based on what he's done and what his resume is, it's true. But you put any other guy in that spot, JDS, Kane, fucking Brock. No, maybe not Brock, but you put everybody else in that spot, Ngannou's going to destroy him, because Ngannou has this he is the Predator. He is the UFC's creation. You know what I mean? I see a lot of people out there saying he's Nigerian. He's not Nigerian. He's from Cameroon.
Bingo, Al. And listen, it is tough, but yeah, he's the first Cameroonian champion, third African champion behind Adesanya and Kamaru, who was in his corner. You know what I'm saying, folks? Like, come on, man. That honestly should have been the clues, right? We're training with Kamaru Usman. That's just brilliance. You could not ask for a better guy to try to learn some takedown defense from. But also Eric Nixick. I want to see this guy get the credit. This is the new coach. This is the guy that I talked about it, man. Even in these matchups, when Francis Ngannou was fighting Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he didn't need to practice wrestling. That fight was never hitting the mat under any circumstances. And if it did, they're both just going to stand up and go back to winging. You know what I mean? But Eric Nixick was on this guy. He developed this man over the years, knowing that at some point, whether it be Stipe, whether it be John Jones, whether it be Daniel Cormier, that this dude was going to need to shore up this game. And like I said, man, it was just going to be an absolute travesty for Ngannou to come in here and be that same guy and not have any takedown defense. He absolutely showed us he has the skills. I mean, it was a true thing of beauty, that sprawl. It was a thing of beauty. I mean, picture perfect technique. And then the fact that he then circles around and starts landing ground and pound. Dude, my jaw dropped. My eyes popped out. At one point, my boy Ngannou shoots a takedown, and I said, okay, Francis.
He's so pumped that his shit went out.
Good. Are we back? We're having
You're
technical
back.
issues, folks. Uh-oh. Let's see if Al is he back? Oh no.
We're good.
Ngannou just knocked out the stream. Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. And I said Ngannou knocked out the stream. You know, we're still dealing with
I
repercussions.
can't believe that just happened.
Hey, what are you gonna do, man? Sometimes it happens. Hey, a live show, baby. That stuff's gonna happen, right? Luckily, we're back. Hopefully, we didn't lose connection with anybody. But what was I even talking about, man? You know, it's Ngannou's a new man. He's the reigning king. Oh boy, we gotta. Hey, you know what though? I do want to say I actually did have another shot on Ngannou round 1, so I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't cash that. I really thought I could have cashed that in that barrage where Stipe kind of had his back turned, was eating a lot of big shots. Nonetheless, Ngannou goes out there, cleans house early round 2.
But like,
for being a 2-round fight, kind of a non-event. I mean, I'm really struggling in my mind right now to remember Stipe landing a punch. Do we have the numbers on that, Al? Because I really don't remember Stipe doing anything in this fight that even resembles winning or fighting or having any moments of success at all.
Yeah, like I tweeted out like with 10 or with a minute left in the first round, Stipe doesn't know what to do. He's waiting for Ngannou to give him something, and he's not going to give him anything, you know. And Stipe is leaner. He's not the same guy that he was. It's not like he bulked up for this fight where I don't know what his game plan was. He was hoping on a diminished Ngannou. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but it not to take anything away from this fight, because this is just crazy. But yeah, you know, that was a terrible, terrible knockout. But hopefully when we think about Stipe Miocic, we don't think about that. You know what I mean? And
sure.
I feel like, and I wish that I thought about this before, you know, the big, you know, the hype of the fight. But if you're looking at this, and this is something that we should do moving forward, look at it from the perspective of the fighter. For the perspective of the fighter, for Stipe at 38, 39 years old, you know, coming to the end of his career, it was a win-win situation, was it not? If he lost the fight, is it a big deal? You lost to a guy that you already beat, who's now going to be the best ever, who might not ever lose. He might destroy John Jones. He might destroy Derek Lewis again. You know what I mean? So like, it was the type of spot where it was like, it's not the worst. It's not the worst loss for Stipe in a legacy standpoint. You know what I mean? You could kind of tell with Cormier. Cormier was losing it tonight when he knocked out Stipe. Cormier was all up in arms. He was so happy. And, you know, I understand it, but it's just like, we can't diminish Stipe's legacy based on that, because
sure.
Stipe was one of the best underdog fighters in the UFC history, based on like the handle, based on, you know, surprising people. So, and that's why the line was the way it was, because a lot of people thought that there was a chance that Stipe was just going to come out and be that polished guy that had the adjustments and had, you know, was able to do what he did to Cormier against Ngannou. And it was just, you're dealing with the machine at that point, right? You're dealing with a corporate machine that is pumping money into this guy to be what they want him to be. And he did it tonight. And now the sky is the limit. Not even the sky, like the galaxy is the limit. Francis Ngannou could have a fight on the moon at this point, and people would be at it. So yeah. And what are they going to do? What's now? What are they going to do with him now? Like, this is what we were talking about before, where this is the paradigm shift. This is the new reality. And I feel like they were trying to get at this with Adesanya, hoping that he would have won that fight, right? To be able to bring this whole quasi weight class thing where they'd have guys fighting at different sizes, that might not actually be matched up together, and
yeah, well, Al, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a great point, dude. Because let's say Adesanya had beat Blachowicz. You're talking about the welterweight, the middleweight, the light heavyweight, and the heavyweight champion of the world all being African born, and that is just a marketing powerhouse. But I'll keep it real; it's still a marketing powerhouse, dude. What's crazy to me is Ngannou said earlier this week, there's guys better than Kamaru Usman. There's guys better than Israel Adesanya in Africa right now. They just need someone to go there, discover them, bring them here, train them, and set them loose upon the UFC. And I believe him. If a man who grew up in a man who grew up in a sand mine in Cameroon, who eventually grew up 7 times attempted to flee, to immigrate to Europe, was caught 7 times, was sent to the desert to die, overcame it, finally makes it to Europe, lives homeless, walks into an MMA gym in France, and look at where we are today. The man's life is a movie, and I can't wait to watch it. He's done it. Francis Ngannou, the legend comes true. The legacy, the destiny has been achieved. I said, there's no way Francis Ngannou does not one day wear the crown, wear the gold. That day is today. I said, why not tonight, right? I said that on Friday. Why not tonight? Sure enough, it comes true. One last thing, man. I got to say sorry to the boys on the Friday night show, the final weigh-in. I'm the host. I'm always the last to go. My man Guru on Stipe. My man Locke on Stipe. My man Cody Saftik on Stipe. They're looking at me. They're saying, Bleed, please be on that Stipe side. Please tell us we can squad ride again on another underdog. I said, I'm sorry, boys. I have to do it to you. I said it's Ngannou. Somehow, I got to give him credit. Somehow my man Locke knew when I was
like, Steve, he was like, Ngannou's going to win.
He said
Ngannou's going to win.
He says it's a lock. Ngannou's got it done. And my goodness, dude was right. We got this weird thing going, man, where when the squad's on somebody and I'm the lone man out, boy, you better watch out. You guys are in trouble because, man, when I square up to the squad, your boy don't lose. So it's my night to shine. What are you going to do? We'll be back on it. Hopefully we're on the same page in the future. Hey, watch out for your boy, though. I'm on a mad heater right now. Ngannou cashes. I couldn't be happier. Al, we've covered the fight. There's only one thing on my mind, baby. Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones, the biggest fight in UFC history. Book it now. Don't let Jon Bones Jones play his little games on social media. Everybody look at me, pay me. The disrespect, Dana. I can't believe why does everybody else get paid, but Jon doesn't when get in there. You sign the contract. You have fights. Francis Ngannou, Jon Jones, book it. I don't want to hear nothing. Face the music, Jon Jones. That is Francis Ngannou. Al, what do you think of that?
Yeah, and go back to February when we did these streams, and we talked about it where the UFC was building this spot where they could have these inter-champion rivalries, and I think that's what they tried to do with Adesanya. And, Adesanya came up short, but that doesn't change the game plan. And that doesn't change that Jon Jones is still the people's light heavyweight champion, right? So if he's moving up to heavyweight, that fight is the fight that's the biggest MMA fight in history, right? Like it's gotta be, it's 100%. Like it will compete with McGregor Mayweather. It might not surpass it, but as far as MMA box office, it's the biggest fight of all time. It's got to be. It 100% has to be, especially because they got their boy from the places in the world where ships are clogging up in canals because international relations, and that's the UFC is going international. They got their boy Francis Ngannou, and they're going. Who knows? Maybe that fight's in Singapore. John Jones and Francis Ngannou. And this is just this is the world that they wanted to create. It just Izzy didn't really walk them into it the way that they wanted them to. But this is a great segue. If I was better at doing this, if we look into what's coming up next, we don't even know if these next fights are even going to happen at the Apex. And that's another thing that I wanted to bring up. What the hell is going on with all these people at the Apex in this fight scenario where the octagon needs to be smaller, and now there's 2,000 people at the Apex? Why does the octagon need to be smaller? Why? Hey, what's going on? I don't understand. What are we doing? And if this is any other sport, the Red Sox play in a modified stadium.
True.
But what the hell are we doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? What's going on?
I mean, listen, you're not going to show up to an NBA game and they go, "Oh, hey guys, we're playing on the small court tonight." You're not going to go to an NFL game and they go, "Oh, you know what? Actually, we're doing arena football rules tonight. 50-yard field." You know what I mean? So yeah, Al, it is crazy. And honestly, dude, I'm not a fan of it. I want there to be a standard. I want the octagon to be the same size, but I'll keep it real, dude. I honestly think I prefer the small octagon.
Yes.
The numbers seem to seem to suggest that we have far more action, we have far more finishes, we just have better fights. I think with the octagon smaller. Let's make this the standard. You know what I mean? There's no need to have that big octagon at this point with the quarantine. Everybody's used to the small octagon. All these fights at Apex. People are training in smaller octagons. When you're at the UFC Performance Institute, it's the smaller octagon. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Another thing we do need to talk about too, which don't get me wrong, I don't think it really mattered. I honestly think this version of Ngannou we saw tonight beats Stipe 9 out of 10 times. It was just inevitable. He's just surpassed him at this point. But that was something I'd never that I got to give Cormier props. Which you know what? I do got to say, my man Cormier tried to do a little bit of a gambling breakdown earlier tonight.
Oh, my God.
Not so easy, is it, big boy? Yeah, I know we might make it look easy. Ain't so easy spitting them numbers and talking them fights, is it, Cormier? But here's the point I want to say. He brought up a good factor. Last time these guys fought, it was the bigger cage. Stipe had all this room to run Ngannou backwards through those shots. Tonight, that wasn't going to be the case. Ngannou, I don't think it matters anyway, though. Ngannou had learned the technique. We're talking about a man that didn't know how to defend a takedown in the first fight. Now we're talking about a guy that trains with Kamaru Usman and Eric Nixick. He knows how to stop a takedown. Not only that, he'll get on your back and land some ground and pound. So it's just a different story, man. Ngannou's a new guy. It's Ngannou 2.0. Are we entering a new era? Is this a new reign? I will say this. If Ngannou fights John Jones, which I got to be honest, I'm a little bit worried. I don't know if our boy John Jones. I mean, let's look at the options. If you ask me, I think John Jones thought Stipe wins this fight. I think John Jones thought, I'm going to go in there and fight a 40-year-old Stipe. I'm going to make quick work of it. Now he's looking at Ngannou going, oh shit, I was just going to go in there and take this guy down. That's not going to happen now, is it? No. John Jones might be like, hey guys, I didn't gain too much weight. I could easily cut back down to 205. Jan, what's going on with? I mean, that's my belt, you guys. You guys know that, right? Blachowicz, he's got my belt. What do you guys think? I mean, Blachowicz, that's the more exciting matchup, right, guys? I mean, Ngannou, who's this guy? Blachowicz, he's the proven. I listen. I am ready to hear every John Jones excuse in the book, but if they don't make this fight happen. You want to talk about diminished legacy? John Jones, you better get in there and fight this man. And if Ngannou takes out John Jones, we're talking megastar. We're talking sky's the limit. This guy could be the UFC's new biggest international superstar. And Al, you sparked a little thought in my head just now. You're talking about Singapore. I'm saying let's take this back to the old school, baby. Rumble in the jungle. I want UFC 263 straight out of the jungle of Cameroon. Francis Ngannou, John Jones, book it, make it happen. Rumble in the jungle. That's what I'm saying. Rumble in the jungle, baby. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, and make the co-main event
Usman
Yeah, that would be great
Colton
too.
2.
Fuck.
And then
Jesus.
put Adesanya defending the 185-pound strap as well.
Against Costa, someone he could destroy.
Right on. Right on.
But yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that it's John Jones. It's like the thing about it is like, did we really think, and I'm talking to myself at this point, did we really think that a man who has a side job as a firefighter was going to defeat this man who his only living and breathing purpose is to win one fight in his life, to get to one point where, you know, the league or the promotion that's, you know, that he's competing in is backing him to do. That would have been a miracle. You know what I mean? And Guru said it best. He said that's it's got to be one of the greatest accomplishments ever, right? No one could do that. You know, who defeats Ngannou twice? Nobody. So that's why I think that brings me to another point. That's why if Jones doesn't step in, it's got to be Derek Lewis, right? And
it's a banger. I mean, it was supposed to be a banger the first time, but we're looking at a new Francis here. So, yeah, man. I mean, they could run it back. I'm going to be highly disappointed, though. Dana White at the post-fight press conference, because, you know, there could be an argument, right? Doesn't Stipe deserve the rematch? He won the first one. Yeah, under normal circumstances, you're absolutely right. And he is the greatest heavyweight of all time, and he probably does deserve an immediate rematch. Does he want that? Do you want to get in there and do that again? Because I got to keep it real. I think they run it back again. It's going to look just like that. Maybe worse. Maybe Ngannou even takes him out in the first round this time. I just think Ngannou realized, wow, this guy can't take me down. I really don't need to show him any respect. And boy, he just jumped up. So round 2 it started, and he's like, yeah, this is pretty much donezo, ain't it? Let me go in here for the kill. So yeah, dude, I'm as hyped as can be. Phenomenal gambling night for me yet again. I'm riding high, super happy, so excited Ngannou's got the gold. If you ask me, man, this is the so much more exciting option. And my man Dana White's totally on board with me. He knows that Ngannou with the gold makes for so many ultra exciting matchups. Stipe, all respect given, but we're talking about a 40-year-old fighter at this point. What is there left to prove? Does he need the paydays anymore? Why put yourself through that? You know, I'm not going to say he should retire, but I don't know if Stipe's got anything left to prove at this point. I think it'd be an okay point to, you know, ride off into the sunset here.
Well, he's
why put yourself through this damage and this stress and this danger at this point, you know?
He's 1-1. So why not just walk away 1-1?
Right.
1-1 against Ngannou and 2-1 against Cormier.
Absolutely, man.
It's totally the perfect spot to walk away.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's the perfect spot to walk away. And I wouldn't blame him. And I said to you, and I was pissed. I said to you, like, if Stipe wants a rematch, they have to give it to him immediately. And then you watch it again. You watch his reaction. You see that he went to the hospital. You know, and I'm the type of guy, and I've told you this before, I don't like to watch the embedded, because, you know, I'm betting on this professionally. I'm betting lots of money on these fights sometimes. I don't like to be influenced emotionally at all. So I like to make my bet and then I'll watch it. You know what I mean? And so I ended up watching some of the Stipe stuff, and it's just like, at this point, after seeing that knockout and thinking about what I just saw with the way that he lives, he's not a fighter that fights and trains 24 hours a day like Ngannou is. You know what I mean? So it's just two different lifestyles, and it's two different categories of eras, two different eras. We are seeing it's a paradigm shift, right?
Transition of power.
This is the paradigm shift that, you know, this is the paradigm shift that the UFC was building up to. And they, like I keep saying, is they thought that Adesanya was going to bring it in with the win over Blachowicz. And, you know, he bit off too much that he could chew, but they didn't bite off too much they could chew with Ngannou, because they knew that 260 was Ngannou's reign. And then, we're going in with Usman, and this is the start to, like, from the UFC to being like a multi-conglomerate American company that does international business. They're not that anymore. They are an international business that does international business. And with Adesanya, with Volkanovski, with Wiley Zhang, with Ngannou, they are in a whole other paradigm now.
Yeah. Hey, Al, let me jump in before I forget, man. I just want to bring up one point. I honestly wish I could give credit to whoever on Twitter brought this up, but I forgot. Right now, as it stands right now, and this is going to shock some people, there is one American champion in the UFC. Guess who? Aljamain Sterling, the fakest paper, not a champ, fake belt holding bum. Aljamain Sterling, our only American champ right now. Unreal stuff, dude. You are so right, Al. This sport has grown so fast, so immensely. It is a worldwide phenomenon at this point, and I am here for it. My God, it is an honor, a privilege, and so damn fun to be able to cover this sport, talk about this sport, and bet on this sport. Al, what is there left to say?
I mean, I don't know. It depends how long you want to talk.
Well, we're an hour deep. I think we've probably covered it at this point. So there you go, folks. UFC 260. That's a wrap. Ngannou moves on. He is the champ, the baddest dude on the planet. John Jones, square up, buddy. It's your time.
Either square up against Ngannou or fight Adesanya. One or the other.
Whoa. Well, I'm going to tell you right now.
It's for real, though.
He's all over that Adesanya matchup, because that is a guy who does not have takedown defense. So,
but either way,
God knows the option. I'm telling you, I know which one he's taking. But, man, Al, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this one up?
I think he did. I think he tweeted something about that. He said, what about that 185 belt? He tweeted something about that tonight, where he was eyeing Adesanya.
Yeah, well,
I think he did it like he tweeted it as like an offhand joke, and then Dana was like, "Call us right now. We're waiting. Call Hunter right now. We'll make the fight tonight."
Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, Usman mops up Adesanya. That wouldn't even be close. Straight up, I'm not even kidding you guys. So the way they match up skill for skill, Usman takes that dude down at will, and it's just a joke. So that's how I feel about it. All right. I am Bleed. He's Al Mac. Thank you guys for watching. Al, we got a week off. Are we doing Bellator? What's the deal, dude? What do you think?
I don't know. I think we might deserve some. We'll get back to you. We'll be around, but
we'll be around. Be on the lookout.
The regular schedule is like, it's adjustable.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we don't have a UFC this week, but hey, who knows when you'll see us pop up. If you don't see us, we will be here after that next UFC card. Same, approximate time, right? Kind of all over the place. It just depends on when the press conference wraps. But absolutely the same place right here, oddshqodds.com, baby. I'm Bleed. He's Al Mac. That was UFC 260. We roll on, baby. The game don't stop. What else is there to say? Thank you guys for watching. We are out of here.